Hi crafty friends, I'm Trisha Morris from Club Scrap and welcome to my warehouse based in Neenah, Wisconsin. We are here for a night of loving handmade books. I have a collection called Lovebirds. It's really adorable, and from that one collection, which is actually a page kit designed to make 8 12 by 12 pages, we are going to go another route tonight and turn it into a glue-free book. So this is the 5 by 7 glue-free book that we're going to make, and basically what's glue-free about it is everything to do with the assembly of the cover. The pages themselves actually get linked together with some adhesive in an accordion style, but this essentially is the glue-free book. Now, as I was transforming our Lovebirds page kit into this book, I realized that mathematically there was potential for a second book to be made. So we're not going to just make one. We're going to make 2, and the other one is a miniature version. It's 3.5 by 5, and it's absolutely adorable and requires very few skills. So you do need a trimmer, and you need your smarticles. We're going to be doing some measuring, but you will be fine. I'll walk you through it. And speaking of, I think if you're going to tackle this project, I recommend watching this. I'll go at a pace that's probably too fast for you, but you'll get the idea of how it all comes together. And then grab your Lovebirds kit. This is on special on my website right now, clubscrap.com. And then you can follow these steps at your very own pace. Let's just go ahead and get started. You'll need one Club Scrap page kit, and this time I'm using the adorable Lovebirds collection since this is a nice love theme project. It contains all the ribbons and embellishments that you need, plus all the papers. In addition, you will also need one sheet of Club Scrap's folding board. This is a nice archival material, and it's strong, so it's going to make a really nice book cover for us, as well as a guillotine style trimmer. This model by Fiskars is my preferred one that I carry at Club Scrap. I'm also using my infamous accordion pocket file to help us stay organized. I have 4 pockets, A, B, C, and D, that we'll be using to organize all the pieces that we trim. But if you don't have something like this, just plan to use 4 piles. You can label them A, B, C, D with a post-it note if you like. This file just sits right underneath my trimmer to hold it vertically on my work surface, and that way it's easy to access everything as we go. As with almost every Club Scrap project, we'll begin by putting the papers in the order in which we'll be trimming them. So I'm starting with this folding board. I'm just going to put that on top of my trimmer. And then we're going to find the dark pink plain. Now there's a dark pink, a cranberry, and a light pink. So that's the dark pink. This is the cranberry that we need next. Then one sheet of blue. All of this is right in this Lovebirds kit. One sheet of white plain, and then 2 of the bird prints. So these are the prints that we're using, and I'm just going to put those face down on my stack. Then we'll trim 2 floral prints. Those are these. And then another dark pink. Then the light pink, which is very, very pale. Then we'll continue with 2 more cranberry. That's this really deep red. It's beautiful. Then another white, a light pink, a dark pink, and the blue. That's all the regular paper that we have. Plus there are 2 sheets of cut aparts, and at your own pace and time you can trim these cut aparts apart into different sections of artwork and use this to decorate both of your glue-free books. So those will go face down, and I'll flip the stack back over, which brings us back to that folding board sheet on the top. Now, since the folding board will not be folded in this case, it doesn't matter how we put this into the trimmer, and we're going to trim just at 7 inches. That's going to be the most common measurement of our whole entire project. Now rotate, and I'm going to give you a weird measurement, but you can manage it. It's no problem. It's 10 7/8. So basically it's almost 11. It's halfway between 10 3/4 and 11. We'll find 10 7/8. Then trim at 10 and 5. And these are going to be the covers for our 5 by 7 book, and those will go in pocket A. Next, you'll see 2 remaining strips. The skinniest one also goes in pocket A, and the larger one can be set aside as a scrap. Now the remaining 5 by 12 we'll trim, again, it's sort of a weird measurement. It's 7 5/8. Now that's halfway between 7 1/2 and 7 3/4. You're going to find 7 5/8. And then 7 and 3 1/2. Now these two pieces are going to be the cover for our smaller book, and this narrow little strip will be like a sidewall support for that. So all of these three pieces go in pocket C. That leaves you with one squarish piece of board left. We'll set that aside as a scrap. Moving on, we have a lot of papers to trim the same way. So we're going to start out with this dark pink, and we're going to check the grain direction of the paper. To do that, hold it by an edge and study whether the paper is stiff or if it's flexible. Then hold by a different edge and you can see how much more droopy the paper is in this direction. I want my paper drooping easily top to bottom when I place it in the trimmer. And I'm going to repeat that exercise to determine the grain direction for this cranberry. So both of these will be trimmed at the same time at 7 inches. These will be pages for the large book. I'm going to set those aside to be scored. These are the pages for the small book, and I'll set these aside to be scored. We'll repeat that for the blue and the white. Check your grain. Just cut it 7. That's it. And then finally the two bird prints, same story. Just trim at 7. And set them aside to be scored. Next, we're going to take these floral prints, and again, you may substitute with papers from your stash, and also you'll probably want to just observe how this book is made the first run through, and then watch this again at your own pace to make your very own book. All right, so this is trimmed at 7. Once again, more inside pages, so I'll set those aside to be scored. This remaining 5 by 12, I'm going to trim at 6 3/4, and then rotate the piece I just created and cut at 4 3/4. This will go in pocket B. It's a mat for our outside cover. And then these are scraps. And then this piece can be set aside to be scored. Next, we're going to take that dark pink, check the grain, and the light pink. Make sure it dips easily top to bottom. And surprise, surprise, we're going to trim this at 7 again. Guess what? This gets scored. This piece will trim at 7. And then rotate and cut at 3 1/2. This will go in pocket C. This is a scrap. And this can go in pocket C as well. Next, 2 cranberry. So grain, once again, every single time the grain goes top to bottom. And I bet you can't guess our first measurement, 7 inches. One more time. This time we're rotating and trimming at 7. This will go in pocket A. We have a 5 by 7 here. One of them can be set aside to be scored, and the other is set aside as a scrap for decorating later. And then we have one more 5 by 12 strip. Let's trim that at 9. This goes in pocket A, and this is a little scrap. Okay, finally we have 4 sheets remaining. We'll place these into the trimmer, and the grain direction does not matter, and it's because we're not going to be folding this paper. We're going to turn these into photo mats, so we'll cut at 10 1/2 and 6 1/4. Rotate, cut at 8 1/2 and 4 1/4. These two sets of pieces that are the same size go in pocket B, and this can be set aside as a scrap. There's another longer strip here. Trim horizontally at 6 1/4, going into pocket B. And then the remaining 2 sections are scraps, but we can definitely use those. I have 2 more pieces left, the dark pink and the blue, and we're going to cut them the same way. So 10 1/2, 6 1/4, rotate, 8 1/2, 4 1/4. So I've got 4 more photo mats here. These are 4 1/4 by 6 1/4, so you can just slap a 4 by 6 on there. Those will go with the others in pocket B. This is a scrap. This remaining strip will cut at 6 1/4. This will go in pocket B again, and the remaining pieces are scraps. As I mentioned before, the remaining 2 sheets that we have from our kit are all decorative elements that we can cut apart at our own time to decorate our book. So I'll just set these aside for now and grab my score pal. Once you sort through all of the pieces of paper you trimmed, you will find a whole bunch of sheets that are all the same size at 7 by 12. We'll score these at 5 and then flip bottom to top and score at 10. So again, one shot, you're going to score horizontally at 5, flip, and score at 10. That's all there is to it. Do the same thing for all the rest of the sheets in this stack. Next, you'll find a whole bunch of sheets that measure 5 by 12. So these get scored just a little bit differently. We'll start out by scoring at 3.5 and 10.5, then flip the paper bottom to top again and score at 7. So again, that's 3.5, 10.5, flip, and 7. Repeat that for all the remaining 5 by 12s. As far as filing goes, these larger pieces, the 5 by 12s, can go in pocket D, and just put them at an angle because they're too wide for the folder. And these larger 7 by 10s, those can go in pocket B if you want to have those tucked away safely. Now we just have 2 more pieces left to score. These are going to become the spine of our book. So I want you to start out with this one scoring vertically at 2 and 3 inches. And this can go in pocket A. And then we have, I guess we set both of these aside, but we only need one, so the other can be a scrap. Now this is 5.25 by 5. So make sure you're scoring horizontally so that the 5.25 inch edge is aligned with the top of your score pal. We'll score at 2.25 and 3. And this can be placed in pocket C. With all of this prep work done, I'll get rid of my score pal and clear my workspace. You are going to love how simply this comes together. I'm taking everything out of pocket A, and while I know I promised a glue-free book, we will be doing just a little bit of gluing. I decided right away that we are going to reinforce the spine of our books. We might as well just get that out of the way. I have made a crease on each score line of my spine, which I think measures 5 by 7. I'm going to apply some bookbinding glue to this piece of black folding board, and I'll place this on what will be the inside of the spine. It will match right up with the edge, and it's just going to give my book a little bit of extra strength on the outside edge, which I think is really a nice advantage. Again, that's what using folding board is all about. It's a wonderful book building structure. Okay, now we have these weird shaped pieces plus our book covers, and these come together in such a cool way. Begin by placing the piece of folding board centered top to bottom onto one of these pieces that is 5 inches wide by, I believe it's 9 inches tall. So the widths are the same, and this is a little bit longer. I have it centered top to bottom. And now simply take this flap and wrap it around the folding board. If you would like, you can use a bone folder to burnish the crease, and then do the same on the other end. Just give it a little bit of a wrap around here. And you can repeat that for the other book cover. Then remove the prepared little folds from the black folding board. And now you need to find out, since this is a square, you need to find out which direction the grain wants to bend. And obviously when I do this, I get no resistance at all. So I want to center my cover onto the paper so the paper will bend in the direction it's about to be folded. So if you just center that up nicely, and each of these flaps becomes a tab just by simply wrapping it around the cover. Repeat that for the other cover. Okay, with that completed, we just need to make one little snip with our scissors. This is the one that's tall and has the narrow tabs. We're going to make a little slit or a little dart that just brings the paper, from here about to that fold line. We're just gonna bring it in just a little bit so we have a little bit of an easier time with final assembly here. So here we go. This is how it works. The cover has been wrapped with this piece of paper. We have these long flaps, right? And between the cover and the folding board, there is a slot. What you can do is take the second piece, make sure it's covering the exposed board, and slide it into the slot created by the other cover, okay? Then turn to the other side. This is the end that has the tapered corners you created. And we're going to shove that down into that little slot between the folding board and the outer wrap. And look, our book board is covered on all sides with just 2 sheets of paper and no glue. Isn't that neat? So once again, I'll take the other cover and repeat the process by adding my little darts so that I can easily slide this in. So here I have my piece with the long flaps in place. I'll take my square tipped flap, slide it in to the slot between the folding board and the cover paper, making sure this is wrapping around to the unfinished or uncovered side of the board. And all I have left to do is take this tapered tab and shove it down into the slot. It takes a little bit of force, especially working with a heavier cardstock, but once that's done, it's a really nice looking cover. So basically what will happen is after we prepare inside pages, this piece will become the spine, and you may be able to get it in there, but one thing I would suggest is a similar type of tapering from the end to the fold line, just a tiny little dart out of that, so you can easily feed this into the slots on the book cover. So again, just stopping right at that score line. And when I want to finish creating my book, this can slide in here, and this slides in here, and now I have a complete book cover. Again, the only glue I used was to reinforce the spine to make it a little bit stronger. Otherwise, this is a completely glue-free book. Next, I'm going to take everything out of pocket B. This will be the inside pages for the book cover that we just created. Plus, we have 2 mats. Now, if you look, these pattern papers are designed to fit perfectly right onto the outside cover of our book to create a really nice finishing touch. So just so you know that that's where those are headed. These other pieces are mats for the inside pages. Again, these are trimmed to 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 so that you simply just slap a photo on top, no trimming or cropping required. Here are all of those inside pages we prepared. Each one has 2 score lines, one with a bump and one with a divot. So make sure you bury the bumps of your score lines. So this is going to be buried inside the fold. And then we will fold the other piece in the opposite direction so that we bury that bump as well. Repeat that whole folding process for every single page that you've scored by burying the bumps and essentially accordion folding all the papers. Once they've all been folded, you can burnish those fold lines with a bone folder. You can place them all on your tabletop, maybe cover the paper with a sheet of your instructions that prevents the paper from getting marred in any way by the heavy scoring. And notice how I just successfully burnished all those folds in 1 or 2 swipes. Big time saving tip. The next thing you can do is put the pages in the order you'd like to see them appear in your book. So it just kind of depends. You might want to alternate your prints, your lighter colors, your darker colors, and then your plains in between, however you kind of see this coming together. All of these pages, once sorted, will be linked together in the same way. So I have my assembly plan all laid out here, and you can do the same for yourself. And you can completely decide how you want these pages ordered and where you want the tabs located. What I'm going to be doing is using some glue. Now, I said this is a glue-free book, but I do need to adhere these, and my adhesive of choice in this case will be my bookbinding glue. You could also use just your favorite dry adhesive. I like to use a wet glue for situations like this when I want time to be able to adjust the paper that I'm attaching to this flap. So here I have a valley fold starting, and then I have a mountain fold here. I'm going to attach the end of the next sheet to that last mountain fold of the previous page and line up those edges as best as I can. I'm not going to tuck the tab over the top of this because it will alter the size of my book pages, and I don't want that. I want it to be nice and consistently sized. So now when I close this, I can see yet another tab, which I will place my adhesive on the flap and connect the free edge of the next sheet. So I can line that up, make sure it's nice and straight, and adjust as needed. Again, the advantage of using a wet glue for this situation. Looks good. Then I have another tab, and I'll just proceed by connecting all of these pages end to end to create this long accordion for the inside pages of my book. Now that this book block is completed, we're almost ready for final assembly. We have to do a little bit of preparation, however, and I think I'm going to have you do the same thing. Once you determine the first page of your book, we'll want to taper these ends or the sides just a little bit so this can slide easily into the covers that we've prepared. So again, notice I'm just with my scissors, I'm cutting a very small dart into that first sheet so that I can slide this in. Now on the other end, you'll notice you'll have this extra tab as well. That needs to be removed, and it can be done so just, you know, with just a scissors. It doesn't have to be anything accurate. You can use a trimmer as well if you want a nice straight line. Just removing some of that and then just adding a slight dart so I can slide this easily into my cover. I'm also going to cut off from the end just about the same 1 inch we have going on with the flap, so that we don't end up with excessive paper that can get caught on the flap of our book. I'll do the same thing on the other side. Just make sure you remove about 1 inch from the edge of this end page. Okay, now for my covers, I'd like to have a closure, and there's a lot of ribbon that we include in every collection. Much of it would be very appropriate to help us create a closure for our book. So I'm going to take my covers, and this is the one that's vertically been wrapped. That gives me access to the side of the book where I can thread my ribbon between the layers of the cover. So that's between the folding board and the cover paper. I'll do the same for the back cover. Next, I'll take the end paper here and slide this into the same spot where the ribbon is living on each end. So now my covers are officially going to be attached to the book. There we go. Now for the spine, the ribbon will be totally adjustable. I'm going to pull some of the ribbon out so that I can get the spine in between the ribbon, and also just thread that onto into the slot for my cover. So now when I pull the ribbon into equal lengths and I can line it up and back in the center, it's completely loose in there. Again, there's no glue holding anything in place, but this ribbon just really helps the book be stable. And then when you're not enjoying it, you can tie the book closed and trim the ends as you desire. To decorate, I'll just take my standard adhesive and just add some around the perimeter of this printed piece, and I'll place this on the outside front cover. And I can do the same for the back cover. So when you open your little book, it has tons and tons of decorative potential. All those accordion pages. This would be a wonderful gift for a bride or for a shower gift. And then you still have all of these pre-cut photo mats now that you've prepared that will fit right in scale onto these pages wherever you would like them. Plus you have the cut parts that can then be added. Originally, I intended to just stop here with this one book, but what I found was, as I was trimming all the papers, I ended up with these 5 by 12 strips, which, believe it or not, beautifully make a second book of the same nature, just in a different size. So what you'll do for that pocket C material is, once again, you have your spine, which you can fold by burying the bumps. Take your bookbinding glue and add your support for the spine. Next, take the long pieces and center them onto the folding board and make your tabs. Remove them and take the smaller pieces, check your grain direction, make sure that you're making your tabs in the same direction as the grain. These tabs are a little bit shorter by mathematical necessity. Finally, use scissors to just make darts in one end of these long pieces. And you can choose to keep the pink with the pink or crisscross, which I'm going to do. So I'll take, just like before, insert the squared edges onto this side, cover the exposed board, and then slide the tapered end on the other end. And repeat. Now you can set aside the materials for the cover and grab the remaining pages. And once again, you'll notice 3 score lines on each sheet, 2 with a bump and 1 with an indentation. So we'll simply accordion fold by burying those bumps and repeat that for all the pages and then burnish them with your bone folder. Once all these inside pages have been folded and burnished, then you can just decide how you would like them to link together using the tabs once again as your main connection point. And then you can take your bookbinding glue and connect them end to end. Since there is an odd number of page faces in each one of these links in the accordion, the assembly will just alter just a little bit differently than it did when we only had 2 panels in each section for the larger book. So here we have our really nice looking long accordion. And we can think about how we want to assemble our book. But first I will go ahead and just make those little darts and remove a little bit from the end here so that it doesn't get caught on the lip of my cover. Again, you can certainly use a ruler, a craft knife, a trimmer, whatever you feel more comfortable with for this final assembly. This is pretty rough. All right, for this closure, I'm going to use this pretty ribbon that was also included in the Lovebirds kit, and I'll thread it through the cover just like I did before. Now I'll take my inside pages and slide them into the cover the same way. Then make sure the ribbon is kind of free of the spine area, and I can take my spine piece and thread that into the covers. I like to have my ribbon holding the spine in place on the book, which is why I'm doing it this way. All right, once the spine has been installed, you can then work on centering up the ribbon. And now your book is ready for decorating. So again, that's one Club Scrap Special Edition page kit called Lovebirds. Turns itself into one large 5x7 glue-free book and one mini 3.5x5 glue-free book. Again, the only glue involved was really just linking our accordion pages together for the inside, but I just don't think there's an easier way to make a handmade book, and the results are beautiful. Now when I come back, I'm going to show you what these look like when they've been embellished with the items that came in the Lovebirds kit, as well as the cut-aparts. The nice thing really to get this project to the finish line is that all of the embellishments and the decor for your book is included right in that page kit, so you don't have to be hunting around for things that match. It's all right there. So here is the finished book cover. I've incorporated some of the ribbon, and then let's just take a quick tour of the book. The photo mats that we created were added, and really it's just ready for pictures. I've used the washi tape, all the border strips from the cut-aparts, the little brad and the little flower sequin, just all the things, all the little details that finish this off so beautifully. And nary a scrap of this collection was left, but I did use what was left from after the 5x7 book was done to fully embellish that little 3.5x5. Isn't that just the cutest thing ever? So here we have our pages. The washi tape just adds so much, and ready just for smaller pictures. How nice is this? Just a nice purse-size book to give to someone you love and care about. So we here at Club Scrap do make a page kit every single month, and what's neat about this project is that you can make it out of any Club Scrap page kit, not just the lovebirds. So for example, this month's page kit is called Zest for Life. It's released in January, so it just started shipping to our members all over the world, and this fun set is all about citrus and zest and, you know, lemons and limes and oranges. So I went ahead and transformed this particular kit into the 5x7 glue-free book, and I decorated it with the cut-aparts, ribbons, and everything else that comes in this collection. Isn't that a fun book? So just by changing up the kit, you have a completely different look, even though you're following the same basic instructions. And then, of course, there's the miniature version of this book as well, with the beautiful ribbons. This is a silk ribbon that was included in the kit. And all of those little cut-aparts just really finish it off perfectly. This would be wonderful to just summarize a cute little vacation maybe that you took. Remember those? Remember when we went on vacations to places that were sunny and warm? Those were the days. Now, I did mention that we have a subscription to a page kit. We also have a card kit, and the subscription is just $21.95 a month. There's no minimum time obligation. It's my job to earn your loyalty. So I'd love to have you join us, and if you do and use code GLUEFREE within the next week, I'm going to give you the kit to make your very own accordion pocket file. Since this is such a critical component to your success with my method of scrapbooking, I think this would be a great way to welcome you to the club. If you're not quite ready to join, but you still would like to shop, non-members are welcome to shop anytime. So again, if you use code GLUEFREE at checkout and your order's over $50, your shipping will be free. So I hope you had fun learning about this glue-free book and learning a little bit more about the method that we use to make sure that you don't have any scraps in your scrapbooking. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks for joining me.